Okay, so for this back part, the first thing we're going to do is actually to bring out our zip allowance. I'm actually working with a zip allowance of about 1.5 inches. So placing my tape at this center back, I'm just going to mark 1.5 inches down to the end of this pattern paper. Alright, so next I'm going to connect all the points. So I'll just label that zip allowance. Alright, so next I'm going to come down from this top part. I'll just come down by about 1 inch. This is to allow me to add allowance at the shoulder part. So I'm just going to a straight line like this. Okay. So I'm going to take all my measurement from this mark here, no longer from the center fold, but from here. So placing my tape here, I'm going to impute half of my shoulder measurement, which is 7.5 inches. So I'll just mark that here. Okay. Then I'm going to take my neck measurement. The neck width for the front has to be the same for the back. So I'm also going to mark a neck width of about 3 inches. Then the neck depth can actually change. For this back part, I'm working with a neck depth of about 1.5 inches. So using my curve rule, I'm going to connect this. Like this. Then you have to connect this all the way to the zip allowance part. So rolling a straight line, I'm just going to connect it like so. Alright. Then at this shoulder measurement, I'm going to come down by 1 inch, to get my shoulder slope. Then I'm going to connect that to the neck width like this. Alright. So next I'm going to take the vertical measurements. So the next measurement I'm going to take at this point is the bust length, or my bust point, which is 9.5 inches. I'll mark that. For this back bodice, we do not need the under bust, so you just go straight to the waistline, which is 15.5 inches, and then an allowance of half an inch. So to ensure that you're going to have a straight line, you just mark the same thing towards the end. This is not necessary, but if you want to have a straight line, you can do that. So mark 9.5 inches here, 15 inches, and then 16, half an inch, some allowance. Now I'm going to a straight line across all these marks. Then next, I'm going to get the armhole length. Like we did for the front, you divide your breast circumference by 6 plus 1.5 inches. So we got an approximation of 8 inches. So placing my tape like this, I'm going to measure that 8 inches. To also ensure that I'm having a straight line, I'm going to, so it's already at the 7.5 mark. So I'll just connect that mark to the shoulder slope, like so. Then draw a line horizontally. Okay, so this is chest line, this is a bust point, this is the waistline, and this is the allowance line. Alright, so at this bust point, I'm going to impute my nipple to nipple measurement for the breast span. So I'm working with a breast span of about 8 inches. If I divide that by 2, I'm going to have 4 inches. So I'm going to mark my 4 inches here. Then at the waistline, I'm also going to mark my 4 inches there. Then I'm going to connect the 2 points down to the allowance line. So just mark this like this. Okay, so for this particular bodice, I'm actually going to use the simplest back dart. So to do that, you can decide to either go by 2 inches or take your measurement from this first point. For this draft, I'm going to actually leave my measurement at the bust point. So coming down to this waistline, I'm going to measure 1/2 inch on both sides, like this. Then I'm going to connect this marks to this point in a slanted form. And then I'll just use a straight line to take it down to the allowance line. Okay, so going back to the armhole, we're actually going to get the midpoint of this armhole. The length of the armhole is about 8 inches and the midpoint is at the 4 inches mark. And then at the chest line, we're going to impute 1/4 of the breast circumference, which is 9.25. That's what we're working with for this draft. So I'm going to mark that. Now, for the back piece or for the back bodice, you don't need to come in by 1/2 inch. So from here, you're just going to connect this to the mark on the chest line. At this bust point, I'm going to impute 1/4 of my breast circumference. That is my breast circumference divided by 4, which is 9.25 inches. So I'll just mark that here. And I'm going to impute my allowance of 2 inches. That's what I'm working with. Okay. Then at the waist line, I'm going to impute 1/4 of my waist circumference, which is 7.75 inches. So placing my tape here, I'm just going to measure that. 75 inches. And then at this waistline, we actually took a dart of 1 inch. I'm going to replace that. And I'm going to add my 2 inches seam allowance. Alright, so next I'm going to connect all the points together. Going back to the shoulder part, I'm going to actually impute allowance at the shoulder to enable me to join the shoulders together. I'm using 1/2 inch, so I'll just measure that and then connect the points together. So this is it for the back bodice. Now, to ensure that you're not going to experience any bulging of the zip, I'm going to actually extend this allowance line down to this zip allowance part, like this. Okay. Then I'm going to go up by 1 inch and connect that to this point here. Then I'm going to come in by 1/2 inch like this. Then I'm going to connect it to this point here. And now I'm going to cut out. So this is it for the back bodice.